oh, sorry. Instagram is shaking. Okay, so we're gonna do my full wash day routine. I washed my hair maybe an hour ago. I would recommend for you to directly out of the shower style your hair when your hair is still dripping wet, but I have to put on like mascara and get dressed, and they really frown upon me doing this stuff in the nude, so I'm gonna basically resaturate my hair, add my products, and then I'm gonna show you how I style and dry my hair. When you're typing your hair, you do it when your hair is air dried from this state. So if you're trying to figure out if you have wavy, curly, kinky hair, etc. Eva, thank you so much for sharing that. That makes me so happy. So if you're hi there, if you're typing your hair, you want to just take your hair straight out of the shower with no products on it. One day, just let it air dry without manipulating it, adding products, styling it, anything like that. And that's going to be what your hair type is. So if you've ever wondered what your hair type is, that's how you figure it out. Not doing the best hair routine with the best hair products and then seeing what the end result is. That's just how good you are at styling your hair. So if you come in later in this live, you're gonna see people come in later on and be like, really questioning my wavy diagnosis, which is fine. Some people still don't consider my hair wavy, and that's totally okay. There's lots of different definitions of wavy versus curly, but I just want to remind you all that my hair looks very, very different air dried with no product, unstyled, than it is after doing this styling routine, and your hair can look very different too if you do these things. That is the beauty of wavy hair. It can look very different. It's very versatile, but that's kind of part of the fun of it. A little caffeine to get us started. Actually, I forgot to take my medication this morning. 1 second, guys. Not gonna get very far without that. As some of you already know, I get migraines. So preventative action, so I don't end up dropping off this live halfway through. Okay, let's get started. The first thing I'm gonna do is, although my hair is still damp, wait, Sterling, puppy dog. Sterling? No, he's sleeping now. Sometimes you'll see my little Mastiff's head pop up there. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is get my hair back to absolutely soaking wet. The fastest way to do this is to probably stick your head under a faucet, but of course, the only place that has natural light in my house where I can actually film, and also I live in the country, and for some reason I don't have good Wi-Fi anywhere in my house except for this room, but I mean, it's kind of a nice background. I guess it's not good to have windows behind you, but we're just gonna be backlit. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in, and this always takes me about 5 minutes, but like I said, it'd probably be faster if you just stuck your head under a faucet, and you'd save all this time. This is just water in here, by the way, if you're new here. It's pretty much always how I start my lives. Oh, this is a slightly more powerful one. Now, one of the things, if you have really low porosity hair, so someone with low porosity hair, their hair is gonna really struggle to absorb water. And when it does finally get saturated, which is a struggle, but when it does finally get saturated, it takes a long time to dry. Now, some of you are out there being like, oh, my hair takes forever to dry. When I'm letting it air dry, it takes like 3-4 hours to dry. What you might not realize is objectively, that's not a long time. A long time to air dry is like 10 hours to air dry, 24 hours to air dry. That is very low porosity hair. If you're somebody whose hair will air dry in 1 sec. I just need to get Instagram to rejoin. because every time I get a phone call, they actually get kicked out, which sucks. Wavy hair routine. Okay, so if you have very low porosity, that's just water that I'm spraying. Hey, Gonzalez. That's just water that I'm spraying. But if you have very low porosity hair, you might struggle to get your hair wet. It can help to add a little bit of whatever like humectant product you're adding to your hair if you're trying to keep it nice or if you're trying to get it fully saturated. Hi, I'm so glad you love my videos. So for example, when you're shampooing your hair, if you're shampooing your hair, you want to really work the shampoo and the water into your hair. And using like a cream cleanser can sometimes help because that cream cleanser is going to attract the water into your hair if you have very low porosity hair. Likewise, right now, I don't have low porosity hair, I have normal porosity hair, but if your hair dries quickly, it's low porosity. I think where that misconception comes from is that low porosity hair is so hard to get wet that if you don't properly saturate it, it keeps drying on you. But once you actually get low porosity hair wet, it takes 8 hours or more to air dry. High porosity hair gets saturated really, really quickly and dries really, really quickly. But that's guaranteed for sure. But low porosity hair, when you're working with it, if you never actually get it fully wet, it will keep flash drying on you. It will keep drying really, really quickly on you. So, but I think where the misconception about low porosity hair drying quickly comes from is that when it never actually gets properly wet, because it is really hard to get low porosity hair saturated, it does keep drying quickly because it just had never got wet in the first place. I hope that clears things up. So anyways, sometimes I have a hard time like getting my hair saturated. So when that happens, one of the things that I can do is get a little bit of whatever like the moisturizing product is that I'm going to use for that day, start adding it into my hair and then add more water to my hair. So that is one option that you can do if you find that your hair, no matter how much spray bottle water you add to your hair, it's just like not getting wet, then just add a little bit of like whatever leave-in conditioner or curl cream you're adding to your hair for that day and then go back in with more water and that'll really help. Your hair always gets frizzy even when I do the routines right. What should I do? Frizz can come from so many different areas in your routine. So that's such a hard question to answer. If you look at my videos, I do have a anti-frizz masterclass, which talks about a lot of the different areas that you might be creating frizz in your routine. One of the biggest questions I ask, one of the biggest areas that I talk about when it comes to frizz, one is, are you only using like a curl cream or something like that and you're not using any gel in your routine? Because gel is going to add defining power and longevity out of your style. So I would work on incorporating gel into your routine. You're welcome. So that's one thing. And when someone says, oh, I can't use gel in my hair, there are some people who can't use gel in their hair, but there are so many different types of gel out there. So I would say, do some research because there are very lightweight gels, there are heavyweight gels, there are jellies that are more for like type 4 hair or like very, very coily hair. Like there are so many different types of gel out there that are going to give you that longevity and defining power. And a lot of gel comes down to what you're pairing it with. So that's one thing when it comes to frizz. Guys, what I'm gonna add to my hair here to start to try and get it to hold on to that water is Recoil Curl Activator. This is a new product that I've been using. I really like it. It goes on kind of like it's a cream, but it's not dissimilar to the Less All-in-One consistency. So it's like kind of like a gel-like cream. However, when you rub it in your hands, it becomes a cream. Look how much product that was. That was like a pea-size amount, and now look at that. So you really want to activate this product in your hands first. Anytime you are trying a new product, always activate it in your hands. One second. One second. Oh my God. Sorry, I don't even know what I was just talking about. Of course, people always try and reach me when I'm live. So, when you're trying a new product, always... Do I still have you here, TikTok? Sorry about that. When you're trying a new product, always try it out in your hands first. I would try rubbing it in your hands. I would also try adding a little bit of water to it and rubbing it in your hands just to see how it reacts. What's gonna happen is some products are not going to change at all, but some products are. And so it's not like you have to do that every time. If the first time you do that, the product didn't change at all, then you know in the future you don't have to. However, it's a testing thing. It's checking it out to see whether that impacts the product. Hi, Marilyn. And that way, moving forward, what it really impacts, in my opinion, is making sure you get the right amount of the product in your hair. For example, with recoil, if you don't do that in your hand, it would be really easy to put too much product in your hair. I find that with the Lust Brands product as well. If you don't emulsify it in your hands first, it's really hard to like evenly distribute it in your hair, and it's really easy to put too much of the product in your hair. But that's true of a lot of different cream-based products, or just, I mean, there's all sorts of different products that have that reaction. But once you do that for the first time, if you have no reaction by rubbing it in your hands or by emulsifying it with water, if there's no reaction, you never have to do it again. It's just that first time trying out a new product, right? What type of products, ingredients should I look for if your hair gets weighed down easy? I mean, generally you can try avoiding like butters, some of the heavier oils. But also, I don't want to claim to be a hair scientist. And that's the thing that you want to be careful with, is I can tell you generally that some ingredients are heavier, but once you get into the lab, there can be things that they're doing that can change the impact of those ingredients in the hair. So it's going to come down to, in my opinion, a lot of it is going to come down to the consistency of the product. And how they describe the product. Like if you have very fine hair and you're looking for lightweight products, then reach for spray leave-in conditioners, lighter, like milkier creams, and avoid those like butters and hair smoothies and things like that. Okay, so now that I've added a little bit of that, and I'm really struggling to get my hair fully saturated, so I've added some of that moisturizing product, and I'm gonna go back in with some of that water now, and hopefully that will get it nice and saturated. Okay, we're gonna go through section by section and add in the recoil, and then we're gonna go in with the Lust Brands gel over top of that. I have some wet frizz, even if I style it soaking wet with curl products, and it dries stringy in places. So you have wet frizz, even when you style it soaking wet. So I assume, I have so many follow-up questions, but your follow-ups are probably gonna get lost in the chat. So I guess my first follow-up question is, what do you mean when you say, even when you style it wet? I just posted a video that talks about the step after you add your products and before you start drying your hair, okay? So I'm adding my products here, and after I do this, but before I start drying my hair, there is going to be another step where I go through, get rid of wet frizz, and define my hair, okay? You don't have to do that step, especially if you're doing like squish to condish, for example. The idea with squish to condish is to kind of eliminate that middle step. However, in my opinion, for a lot of hair types, having that middle step, which is going to consist of styling techniques, typically things like rake and shake, or like praying hands, rake, scrunch, or using a Denman brush. That step is going to get rid of your wet frizz and is going to define your curl pattern and create those like juicier clumps, so your hair isn't so stringy. okay? And then you can just use a microfiber towel to get rid of any excess water, and then you can go in with your drying, your air dry or your blow dry, whatever you're gonna do. But it's that technique that is the secret sauce. Yes, products are important, absolutely. Yes, your drying technique is very important, but it's that step that I find a lot of people skip for the sake of time, to save themselves time, or because they simply have never heard of that step. And it's that step that when you skip it, you get the most inconsistent results. Diamond Brush has completely game changed the wet frizz and subsequently dry frizz. Absolutely, I agree with that. Is the Kinky Curly Gel a good one for fine wavy hair? I've never used the Kinky Curly Gel, so I can't speak to that. Although, is it a custard? I don't know. I don't know if anyone else knows the answer to that on any of the platforms. Has anybody here used Kinky Curly Gel on fine hair? I haven't. Denman Brush has completely, yeah, exactly, I agree. Okay, so again, I'm just going through with the recoil kind of section by section just to make sure, because I'm multitasking here and I really want to make sure I don't miss any sections. Guys, I'm always so much slower doing my hair on these lives than when I just do it on my own. So this would be like, I would be done applying this product by such a landslide if I wasn't already talking to you. You don't have to spend this much time applying your recoil, just to be very clear. And again, every time I add the recoil, I just want to activate it in my hands first. You can even add a little bit of water too. Oh no, I just lost a bunch of recoil to my water bottle. Curlsmith Aqua Jelly, again, I've tried one of the Curlsmith gels and I do like it. I find it to be a very unforgiving gel. What I mean by that is I need to make sure that my spirals are perfectly placed, and then it will leave them frizz-free, frozen in place, perfectly coiffed in exactly that shape. But if they're not perfectly like finger curled or Denman brushed into place, whatever, then I can sometimes end up with wonky spirals. Versus when I find I use the Lust Brands gel, I don't know why, but I just find it more forgiving. I don't know what the science is to that. I think it's because it's a slightly more moisturizing and like maybe a slightly softer hold gel. It just gives more play to it. Do I have any tips to get your waves back? New subscriber, welcome. Yeah, so if you if you used to have waves and you no longer have them, let's talk about why, a couple of reasons that might have caused that. Some of them you're not gonna like. So things like new medication can change your hair pattern. Things like hormone changes can change your hair pattern. I'm trying to think what else. Hair loss and then regrowth can change your hair pattern. I know a lot of people lost hair post-COVID, and when their hair grew back, they suddenly had curls or didn't have curls. Postpartum, super common time to have a major change in your hair. Especially when it's a hormonal change, I often find that there's really nothing that you're going to do that is going to change your hair pattern back to what it was, especially postpartum, okay? Your body has changed it, and possibly with your next pregnancy it might change, or with distance from this pregnancy it might change, but there's nothing you're gonna do that's gonna change it. That's been what I've heard from other people. Now, so those changes aside, okay, things like chemotherapy, stuff like that, when you have hair loss associated with chemotherapy, the regrowth might suddenly be very curly or the opposite of that. There's a term called chemo curls. Now, those changes aside, maybe you just have always had very wavy hair and now you don't, but you don't have any like known changes that you can think that might have been contributing to that. So what would that be about? Well, it could be damage. There's a lot of things that can contribute to damage. Bleaching your hair, heat, some like environmental factors like extreme exposure to sun, I think, maybe, I don't know, I could be lying on that one. I feel like UV could maybe do some mild damage, but the main ones are going to be like chemical, straightening, perm, bleaching, and then yeah, heat. So if you're in that position, hey Becca, if you're in that position and you've now damaged your hair and you want to get those waves back, your best friend is going to be bond treatments, Olaplex, K18, and ultimately stop damaging your hair. That's not to say you can no longer do the source of the damage. I'm not going to tell you you can never bleach your hair again. You can never heat style your hair again. But if you are going to do those things, if you are going to lighten your hair, get it done professionally. Tell them that you're trying to deal with the damage. Ask them what you can do safely and make sure you're doing bond treatments and that they're using Olaplex with the lightening treatments. If you already have quite severe lightening like damage or bleach damage, they may recommend that you stop for a little while and that you start again safely once that's grown out with like less intense lightening. And then follow those recommendations, okay? If you have heat damage, on the other hand, it can be a good idea to take a break from heat for a little while. But if you absolutely don't want to do that, I understand, like I totally get that. Start using a really good heat protectant and use the least amount of heat that you can use and still get the results you want without having to pass a million times over your hair. If you're straightening your hair on the lowest heat setting, but that just means you have to straighten the same piece 15 times, you're not really helping yourself as much as you think you are. Use the lowest heat setting that you can use and still straighten that piece in like 2 passes. Does that make sense? So somebody said they just had their hair bleached and did a home Olaplex treatment for 4 weeks after, and it helped a lot. Totally, these bond treatments do really work. The other thing that really helps is getting a good trim. Regular trims, if that's what your hairstylist recommends for your hair type. Well, I mean, regular trims for everybody, but regular means something a little bit different for everybody. And then also growing it out. Nobody wants to hear that. Growing it out. Okay, so the last step I'm gonna do is add a little bit of my Irish sea moss gel. Just a little bit. I like to add a little bit right now and a little bit later usually. Okay, the Irish sea moss gel is probably my favorite gel. I've been experimenting with a couple of other gels lately, and I do really like the Diva Curl one. But I was using the Weedad gel used to be one of my favorite gels. And I've been using it lately, and I'm not as impressed with it, and I don't know if it was just what I was pairing it with or what. So I'm gonna have to experiment with it a bit more to figure out what's going on there, because I wasn't that impressed. Melanie, I haven't heard from you in a while. I've heard of people getting bald spots with Olaplex or breakage. There's a whole Facebook group on it. I mean, Olaplex is consistently by like almost all hairstylists, like used by hairstylists on themselves and on their clients, considered one of the best products on the line. I guess the response I would have to that is you can find a Facebook group, many Facebook groups for literally any brand with people saying that that product or that line contributed to them having hair loss, because almost any product or brand can have people who have an adverse reaction to it, first of all. And second of all, because allergies exist, adverse reactions exist to products. Second of all, because people tend to use stuff off-label. Like Olaplex buns were a really big thing. That is not using the product as intended. Olaplex, a lot of people overuse Olaplex at home, a lot more than they should be, and that can cause Olaplex damage. Everything in moderation and everything used as recommended on the label would be my response to that. But Olaplex, if you're using as directed on the label and as suggested by your hairstylist, is nothing to be afraid of. Unless you personally have an adverse reaction to it, and then of course, avoid it. Because every head of hair is different. But ultimately, if you don't feel comfortable using Olaplex, then don't use Olaplex. How many times do you wash your hair? I wash my hair about twice a week. Okay, so now 10 hours later, I've added the 2 products that we were adding to my hair today. So we added Recoil That is AG Recoil. Somebody asked earlier, does it make my hair curlier? A little bit. I recently got my hair cut, got it very well clarified with Malibu Sea Hard Water Wellness. And I like got a lot of like dead ends cut off. That made my hair a lot more spirally. The Recoil Curl Activator probably does make it a little bit bouncier. It's not like night and day, but it definitely is like, does add a little bounce to it. Considering that it kind of seems like a heavier product when you're working with it, I find it acts very lightweight once it's in your hair, if that kind of answers your question. It's just water in the spray bottle. I'm literally gonna put some, I'm all out, so I'm gonna put some from my water bottle in there. I'm gonna rob Peter to pay Paul. But Melanie, I hope I didn't come off too harsh there about the Olaplex thing. It's a totally valid question that you're asking. A very good question to ask about Olaplex. That's just my take on it. Because I hear that sort of thing about a lot of different brands. Olaplex in particular is one that I would trust. I would consider my porosity to be relatively normal, maybe on the lower side of normal, but relatively normal. Certainly not low porosity. I used to consider my hair low porosity, and that was just ignorance. I just didn't know better. I have since seen low porosity hair, and that's not what I have. Okay, so now I'm just gonna make sure my hair is dripping wet. Yeah, it's just water in the spray bottle. And now that there's lots of product in my hair, it's gonna hold the water a lot better. And so now we're gonna do that step that I was talking about earlier where we go through and style and get rid of any wet frizz. So if you are a busy mama or a busy business person and you absolutely are doing whatever, a busy student, and you absolutely do not have time to like do a styling step, I get it, not everybody does. When your hair is totally saturated, soaking wet, you could just go through, rake, praying hands, scrunch, rake, scrunch, rake, praying hands, scrunch. It's more of an art than a science. You know, make sure the back is not hitched on your head. Don't forget the back, rake the back down. Rake, 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 praying hands, scrunch. Tilt it all back like that, and then you could dry like that, okay? See how we've got some like not too much frizz, we've got some decently defined clumps, so you don't have to do the most. You can just do that, and that's fine, and you could get pretty good results. What I find is it's not going to be the most predictable, okay? I personally prefer to do a little bit more just because, yes, it's gonna take me more time on my wash day, but the like trade-off is that I'm gonna get much more predictable results, and the style is going to last for like 4 to 5 days as opposed to me having to do a pretty elaborate refresh on day 2 or day 3. Out of breath. What is a good leave-in product to use? So today I'm using Recoil by AG, and then Love Your Curls Irish Sea Moss Gel, which if you want 10% off, GHWH10 gives you 10% off this, the link in my bio. Okay. Now, so I'll show you how I style, but I also recently posted a video, I think not on YouTube, but on Instagram and on TikTok about this step and some alternatives. And I demoed how to rake and shake, how to do the scrunch praying hands method, and how to do a couple of different Demon brush methods, but I'll show you what my preferred method is. Your hair stays wavy on the bottom, but the top goes straight even if you don't touch it and use product. What should you do? That kind of describes my hair. So your hair stays wavy on the bottom, but the top goes straight. So scrunching is gonna be your friend. Using stronghold products when you scrunch, and diffusing is going to really help. The other thing that's gonna really help if that top layer of your hair has a tendency to really fall flat is a very good haircut. Bye, Marilyn, good luck at Versailles. The other thing that's really gonna help with that top layer, if it is straight, is a great haircut that really caters to what your curl pattern is. Okay, if you have like kind of any variety in curl pattern, going to somebody who really knows how to give you a haircut that caters to that variety and curl pattern, usually that's a curl specialist, it's going to make a massive difference. It's more than just having layers or not having layers, it's having somebody who knows how to cut curly hair. But if you already go to see a curl specialist and you already have a cut that's catered to that and you just don't know how to style it, that straight layer, it would be like scrunching with a stronghold product in it and diffusing upside down, and even using root clips, which we are going to use today. So if you stick around, I'll show you how I use these root clips to help with a straighter top layer. Okay. So we are going to go through and I'm going to show you how, so the bottom layer of my head is by far the most spirally section of my head, so I do the least work as a result. I just kind of brush through and you can see what that does. It just kind of like, how's the lighting, guys? Is it terrible? I kind of feel like, is it very dark? YouTube and Instagram, can you tell me if it's like super dark for you? Ooh. Lighting is good? Lighting is good? Okay, it feels like it's really dark when I'm seeing the reflection. Okay. Yeah, well, I know TikTok's lighting is great because I'm on an iPhone 14 there, but okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna brush through. And then sometimes I'll even rake through, and that's more of a rake and shake method. See how I gave it a little shake at the end? But basically, I'm just focusing on brushing through. This is a Denman D4 brush. I'm just brushing through to create these individual clumps, as opposed to, see, before I brush it, it's a little bit more stringy. And then after I brush it and run my fingers through, it's kind of like more clumpy. Do you see that slight difference? A little bit more stringy first. Here, I'll do this in 2 separate sections. So it's still stringy there, but once I run my fingers through like that, now I've got 4 individual spirals there. So I've already added products. For anybody who just joined, what we've added so far is Recoil Curl Activator by AG. And then the Irish Sea Moss Love Your Curls Gel, which if you want to try out, you can use 10% off code GHWH10, which is also in my bio link. You recently purchased the AG Curl Care Refresh Refiner Soft Hold Styling Cream. That is a mouthful. And I think I'm liking it, but I find that it is super watery. And if I don't quickly apply products, it will slip off of your hands. Oh, that's interesting. Do you redo this routine every day? That is a great question. What happens if you work out one day and had your hair in a ponytail? Oh, so many good questions. So I'm just going to, when I get to my face, guys, I like to do a couple of brush curls where I just kind of like wrap it around the handle of the brush. So I do not do this routine every day. For me personally, that would not be achievable. I do this routine maybe twice a week, okay? More than that would just be unachievable because it takes me about 90 minutes from when I start shampooing my hair until I'm done. If I'm not on live, it takes me longer when I'm talking you guys through it and answering all of your questions. So if it takes me 90 minutes and I do it twice a week, what's going on? What are you doing the rest of the time? Well, the reason I take the time to do a 90-minute routine is because the 90-minute routine lasts me 3 to 4 days. Now, everybody's hair is a little bit different, especially people with very fine hair or hair that is only a very loose wave. You're maybe gonna need to like add a little bit of like water or a little bit of a refreshing spray in the morning to just like liven that those spirals back up or those S waves back up. However, for me, when I do this routine and I sleep in a silk scarf or a bonnet or on a silk pillowcase, something like that, when I wake up in the morning, at least day 2, I don't do anything to my hair. My hair is done. I just let it settle for when I take it out of the sleep protection, and that is it, okay? So a lot of people ask me, how do I not get this stuff mixed with the layer beneath it, right? How do I know what I'm working on? Let me show you how I do that. First of all, I put this in my mouth. I know that's gross, but that's what I do. I do this. Okay. And then you can take an alligator clip or a root clip. I just have an alligator clip, or sorry, a root clip in front of me. And then I'm going to work through, now I have like a long horizontal back section here that I want to work on. So now I'm going to work through this in like vertical sections, one section at a time. Okay, so this is going to be the first piece I work with. The rest of it, I put up here and I clip it. So now it's not going to get mixed in. So now I can work through this and I don't have to like visibly try and remember what I worked with and what I didn't work with. Okay, so now I just get rid of that wet frizz. I use those fingers to separate those into 4 different clumps. Give those a little, ooh, you see how that immediately became stringy? That's an indicator that we just need a little bit more water in there. It can also be an indicator that I'm trying to pull it forward instead of styling it in the same direction that it wants to drop. So now this time I'm going to try doing that again, but instead of trying to style it forward, I'm going to try and style it backwards, which is where it naturally wants to go. So now I'm going to do that and give it a little shake and see how those are slightly nicer clumps now. Much better. Okay. Best advice for transitioning from straightening my hair for 20 years. My best advice would be to start using heat protectant if you still want to straighten your hair. Ideally, stop straightening your hair, except that you're going to have some bad hair days for probably 6 months. Nobody wants to hear that. So get really comfortable, buy some really cute jaw clips. You can buy, if you have very thick hair, get oversized jaw clips. They definitely exist. Look at that one. You can get, I have to use oversized ones. If even this isn't quite big enough for your hair, you can put your hair in a low ponytail first and then use the jaw clip to just kind of hold up that. But yeah, get really comfortable with some nice half up hairstyles, space buns, stuff like that, so that you don't always feel like you have to wear your hair down if it doesn't work out. Accept that it's going to take time to figure out your routine and that your hair is going to have to heal. Acceptance is part of the journey. And then the real tip is bond treatments are your best friend. Look into Olaplex or K18 or one of the other bond treatments, but those are kind of like the most reputable ones. When do you apply heat protectant first, last, before gel? So it depends what type of heat protectant you're using. Really in general, heat protectant is specifically for when you're using a straightener or when you're using a curling iron, something where you're putting hot metal on your hair, okay? When you're just blow drying your hair with a diffuser, unless you feel like you're getting your hair super, super hot to the point where like it's burning your fingers, if you were to put your fingers in there, you probably don't need heat protectant for diffusing, especially because you're using all sorts of products in your hair already, which are going to be helping with the barrier there. And a lot of these products are going to have heat protectant built in. So when I say use heat protectant, what I mean primarily if you're still going to be doing any heat styling. And when I say heat styling, I'm saying using a curling iron, using a straightener. When I say heat styling, I am not talking about using a high heat setting on your diffuser. I've been using a high heat setting on my diffuser without using heat protectant now for 3 years, and I have been to multiple hairstylists. I do not have heat damage. It is a hot diffuser. Now, that being said, I have no bleach damage in my hair, so that helps. And my hair is not fragile. So everybody's hair is a little bit different. If your hair is fragile, then maybe you want to buy some products that actually advertise that they have heat protectant built in, which you can absolutely do. I wonder if this one does. It doesn't advertise it. But you can buy like conditioners, like a lot of the very high quality salon brands will have heat protectant built into them. Or you can just spray it in your hair after the first 5 minutes of diffusing. Because when your hair is soaking wet isn't really when you need it. It's when your hair, you need that heat to start evaporating the water. It's once your hair starts to dry, give it a couple of sprays of that heat protectant if you're worried about your hair, if your hair tends to be very fragile. Once you're maybe 25% dry, give it a couple of sprays of a silicone-free heat protectant, and that should really, really help it with that extra extra little bit of protection. K18 or Olaplex, which would you say is better? I'll be honest, I don't feel qualified to answer that. I haven't used either extensively. I don't feel qualified to answer that. I would ask your hairstylist. I wish I knew the answer. I'll report back when I feel like I have a better answer on that. Okay, so again, I'm going through the back. At this point, I might just be able to like drape it over the top of my head. But you can see I never get it mixed. I never get these top layers mixed up with the bottom because I don't have it just like, I don't just put the whole thing down. I'm just going through one little section at a time. And I try to really style the back of my head directly backwards, and that avoids creating that like weird part at the back of your head, which is something that can happen if you style one side of your head all forward this way and the other side all forward the other way. You can end up with like your part showing at the back of your head if you have wavy hair or like looser curls. Full disclosure, I fully styled my hair yesterday, but I just like shampooed it again today for you guys so that you could see me style it again. But it was sad to do that because it looked pretty good this morning. Okay. It's actually not that sad. I love doing my hair. That's literally why I do this. I'm becoming a hairstylist. Do you guys know that? And I'm gonna be an apprentice in a curly hair salon. I'm so excited. I just got offered an apprenticeship. So anyways, more news coming on that soon. So anyways, I don't know how to cut hair yet, but as that happens and as I get trained, more info will come. How long does this take me? That's a great question. When I'm doing this not on a live, it takes me a lot less time. So I can do my whole head in 25 minutes or so if I'm not on a live. When I'm on a live, it always ends up taking me like an hour because I'm answering questions, I'm going slow, I end up redoing spots just because I'm mindless and I'm multitasking. But yeah. Thanks, Dara. I'm just spraying water to keep it fully saturated. If the hair starts to dry, on my hair at least, it gets very stringy. On very fine hair, that can be, no, the 25 minutes does not include dry time. Dry time is separate. Drying my hair can take anywhere from 20 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how humid it is outside. It can also depend on the products I use in my hair and how heavy they are. So, but the styling, applying products and the styling time takes about 20 to 25 minutes. So full routine can take 40 to 60 minutes for me, but it lasts 4 to 5 days. So compare that to when I used to blow dry and straighten my hair. That would take me, I mean, easily an hour to an hour and 15 minutes because I would have to blow dry my hair and then straighten it, and straightening my hair alone took 40 minutes. And blow drying my hair on top of that, like, and then I would have to re-straighten it every day because it would get like curly around my neck overnight. Now, if I had slept with my hair in a silk scarf or something, that would have helped, but I hadn't discovered that at that time. Okay, so once I start getting side to side here, I kind of go down to the sides like this. After 3 days, your hair looks like Bob Marley's hair. Okay, it's a little bit of a problematic statement, just so you know. But I think I know what you're trying to say. I think your point is that by day 3, you're needing to refresh your hair. Everybody's hair is different, and needing to refresh your hair by day 3, it might just be realistic for certain hair types. So depending on what your challenges are, yeah. Depending on what your challenges are, then you would do a refresh. So you don't have to fully restyle necessarily. I do have a YouTube video that talks about different ways that you can refresh your hair according to just what your challenge is, so that you don't necessarily need to fully saturate your hair from like the get-go. You can just deal with whatever issue you're having. So if you're just dealing with like a little bit of loss of curl or loss of volume, well, maybe you can just dampen slightly and rediffuse. Or if you're just dealing with a few frizzy spirals, then you can just brush through those spirals, resaturate them, scrunch them, and rediffuse those spirals. So there's different things that you can do just to target treat your hair in the refresh. Or you can just wet refresh your hair without washing it if your scalp doesn't need to be washed. So that means just wet your hair. Oh no, I wasn't ready yet. So in my hair right now, I have AG Recoil and I have Irish Sea Moss Gel by Lush Brands. And I'm just keeping my hair nice and saturated, and then I'm going through and kind of styling it so that I can get rid of the wet frizz and clump it into nice juicy clumps. Hi, Hillary. And as I get closer to my face, I don't do brush curls all over, but I do like to do them a little bit closer to my face, just because, like I said, it gives me some of those more predictable results, and because that's what I'm gonna be looking at all day, so that's what I'm gonna be the most hypercritical of. So I just save myself the headache of constantly judging my hair, and I just do a couple of brush curls around my face, and I will be happier with the end result. Hi, CurlyCon. I don't know if that's Alicia or someone else. Okay, so we're gonna keep going. So for the top of my head, basically what I do is I take the section side to side and I just style them downwards. The back section, I'm gonna keep styling directly backwards until I get just to this front bang. I think in this water bottle I have water, so I can feel that in my hand it's starting to like just not be as wet as it was before. You want to keep it nice and wet so that it's fully saturated, so that the hair doesn't start getting frizzy, and so that it continues to clump nicely and it doesn't get stringy. Some people with very fine hair, not everyone with fine hair, but some people with fine hair actually find it's a little bit easier to style it when it gets a little bit damp as opposed to saturated. So if you do have fine hair, I know some of this stuff doesn't apply to you. Experiment to see what works best for you, and for heaven's sakes, follow some fine-haired creators. It will help you so much, because fine hair really is its own beast. Okay, so you see how I brush through to smooth the frizz. I kind of rake through to break it up into separate curl clumps. And then I'm just, what am I trying to do here? See how it's getting really frizzy? I think for a couple of reasons. I think my clump size might be too big, and maybe it's not wet enough. I don't know if I have any fine hair creators off that. What did I just do? Oh no. Swipe left to close. There we go. What is the difference between fine and thin hair? So that's a really good question. Fine refers to the strand thickness. The individual strands are very thin. Thin hair refers to your hair density. How much hair do you have? How many strands are on your head? Okay, so that was just water that I was spraying, because it was, when I was trying to get it to clump, it was coming out really stringy. And see, now it's just going into those nice individual clumps. So that's why it's really nice to have a spray bottle on hand. Lush Brands has a really great one. Curl Keeper has a really great one, or you can get one on Amazon. Can I suggest some fine hair creators? I don't know that I know any off the top of my head, but if anybody else knows some fine hair creators, feel free to drop them in the chats. This one that I'm using is the Curl Keeper one. It's called Curl Keeper H2O, the best water bottle for fabulous curls. It is a good one. It's got a pretty powerful spray nozzle, and it's also quite large, which I like. It's a little bit of a chunky brush curl. The one thing to keep in mind is whatever size your brush curls are when they dry, they're gonna keep forming into that size. That's something to keep in mind, because if you find you're constantly trying to break up your brush curls, and it's driving you nuts, just do smaller brush curls in the first place. You're being weird. Hillary, why are you sending me presents? My friend Hillary, if you guys don't know her, subversive socialite, she just hit 500K on TikTok, and so we're celebrating her, even though she thinks it's so cringe when people celebrate their milestones. Oh, what about fine and thin hair? It is not a disaster. It is beautiful, but it comes with its own challenges, absolutely. First of all, you want a really good hairstylist who's gonna know how to cut that hair to make it look as, you know, thick as possible. And then you're probably gonna wanna use pretty lightweight products. Those would be two of my tips. And then, yeah, you're gonna wanna use tips, styling tips that are unique to fine hair people. But I don't have fine hair, and I haven't worked with a lot of fine hair, so I don't want to give you too much advice. Hillary's channel is actually fantastic. She's on Instagram as well, Subversive Socialite. It's like a fashion channel. Honestly, you are going to want to follow her for her sponsored content. This woman could sell the ocean water. Hilarious sponsored content. Makes me laugh so much. I wish I could make sponsored content like that. Oh, somebody has suggested on YouTube, India Bastan, a curly wavy channel who has fine hair. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Janie, how are you? My aunt just joined. Oh my God, everybody's joining this live. That's great. Don't say Instagram is bad vibes. Instagram is not bad vibes. I love you, Instagram. How long does it normally take to style your hair daily? I feel like I'm spending too much time on it. Is there a shortcut? So the shortcut, in my opinion, is to spend a little bit more time on wash day and to really focus on protecting your hair. So for one, you want to be using products that offer you longevity. Okay, so what is longevity? That means products that have some hold, either that's going to be mousse or gel. Even mousse doesn't have that much longevity. Typically that's going to be finding the right gel for your hair type, okay? So gel is going to give you a little bit more staying power. And then, so that might mean if you think the gel isn't right for your hair, that might mean finding a very lightweight gel that works for you. There are so many great gels out there, guys. A really great lightweight gel is the Diva Curl Ultra Defining Gel. That's one you can try out. My personal favorite gel. That's a little bit less lightweight, but is so moisturizing. I love it. It's the Love Your Curls Irish Sea Moss Gel. It's linked to my bio. But gel is just going to give you more longevity out of your hairstyle. You can try not scrunching out the cast on day one. That doesn't work for all hair types, or only partially scrunching out the cast. But for people that does work for, that can help your style last longer. Protect your hair at night. Now, the best way to do that is going to be different for everybody. So the key is finding the best way to do that for your hair, whether that's sleeping with a bonnet or a silk scarf, or in a pillowcase with your hair up in a silk scrunchie. There are lots of different ways that you can try, but you're going to want to find a good way to do that. Some people like to brush curl their hair on wash day, and that really helps their style to last longer, or just do a couple of brush curls around their face or in some of their less curly spots. Some people prefer just to do something like a rake and shake. That is like a nice simple method, but still gives them that definition that lasts for days. You struggle to get volume on the sides. After drying, I end up having a flat top. So today we are going to use some root clips, okay? I'm gonna show you how I put those in at the roots. I ordered mine on Amazon. I paid way too much money for them, but I haven't been able to find them anywhere else. I think you can order them directly from their website, which I should link in my bio, but I haven't done that yet. Curly Girl Method Large Clips. It's curlyproducts.com, okay? I don't even have a link for these people, but that's what the website is, curlyproducts.com. And it's not a regular size root clip, guys. These are the 2-inch root clips. Don't buy the 1.8-inch root clips. That's not what you want. And that can really help with root volume. Combing or not combing curly hair. What do you mean? Combing it dry, combing it wet, combing it with a pick, brush curling it. I don't know exactly what you're asking me there. Finally held my adult daughter down to use less on her hair for the first time and she's hooked. Oh, that's so much fun. I love it. So you can see I get a lot more precise once we get into this bang area because I'm gonna have to look at this for the next 5 days, guys. So I just really like to make sure that I've got the results that I'm hoping for. And also this is the area of my hair where my hair is the least spirally. And I've got like a crown here where there's like a split. Yeah. So anyways, my hair is just very knotty here. So I try while it's soaking wet to kind of manipulate it to do exactly what I want it to do. And that really helps. And I do a little combination of brush curls and finger curling, just whatever. If you brush curl or finger curl in one direction and it will not hold, just try the other direction. Often, it just doesn't want to go in that direction. If you're trying to figure out where your hair wants to part, brush it upwards and back, and then just kind of like, do you see? Mine wants to go right there. There we go. That's my part. I don't know if you could see that, but that's a good way to find your natural part. And I just want a very natural part because otherwise I'm going to be fighting it for the next 3 days. She got so much curl even from the first wash. That's so exciting. I got the 9-row Denman D4, but that's super unusual. Most people have the Denman D3, which is the 7-row. I've never used the 7-row because I accidentally bought the 9-row initially and I just never strayed from that because I was happy with it. But I don't know. I think it doesn't really matter. I mean, the thing with the 9-row is you can take out 2 rows, like the rows are removable. The one that I have linked in my bio is the 9-row just because that's the one I've always used. There we go. So we're almost there, guys. We are almost done the styling portion. And just a reminder, it does not take me this long to do this when I am not on a live. I don't know why it takes me so much longer to do stuff when I'm on lives. I think because I end up doing the same thing over and over again because I'm just distracted, but it just does. Let's see. And so I'm hoping to make this really last because I'm going to be in the salon tomorrow. Does diffusing cause hair damage? So, I mean, most things like that can cause hair damage if you're doing it like, if you put it on the highest heat setting and you scrunch up your hair and then you hold it there for an hour, potentially you could burn your hair. It is very unlikely that you are going to burn your hair from diffusing, even if you are diffusing your hair on a high heat. With that said, I will acknowledge that there are lots of different diffusers out there. Some of them are significantly hotter than others. Like, for example, my Lust Brands diffuser does get very, very hot. But as a rule, I heard a curly hair specialist the other day say, using a straightener or a curling iron on your hair is like using an iron on clothes. Using a diffuser on your hair is like putting your clothes in a tumble dryer. you're a lot more likely to burn your clothes with a clothing iron by accident than you are to burn your clothes in a tumble dryer. It's pretty tough to burn your clothes in a tumble dryer. Is it possible? Maybe if like the clothes got caught somewhere, or like it would be tough, you know? So for that reason, it's unlikely, you know? I've never used the Necedo Pro. Okay. And now I'm gonna take a microfiber towel, I'm going to scrunch my hair, and then we're gonna put in some root clips. And we're gonna drink some coffee. So when you are micro plopping your hair, if you wanted to plop your hair, by the way, especially if you like to air dry your hair, this is when I would plop my hair. I don't like to plop my hair. When I personally plop my hair, I find that my hair gets a little bit more frizzy than if I just micro plop, but everybody's hair is different. I am not hating on plopping. It is right for some people. I have chemo curls and struggle with styling since it's so short. Honestly, just raking through very wet hair is usually sufficient for very short hair. When your hair is very, very wet, just rake through your product with your fingers and scrunch a little bit and then diffuse it. I would diffuse it. It makes a very big difference. Okay, so let's micro plop with a t-shirt or a microfiber towel. And do you see how I have frizz right now? And we have those gorgeous clumps because we did that styling step. That's what makes all of the difference. That makes all of the difference. Oh yeah, my hair's really wet. So this is a very helpful step. We're very gently removing all of that excess water. Okay. Yeah, I just bought these root clips. So again, the root clips that I'm going to be using today are 2-inch root clips, not 1.8-inch root clips, which makes a really big difference. Almost all of the root clips that you are going to find online are 1.8-inch. I don't recommend those ones. I would get 2-inch ones if you can find them. Okay? And again, I'll tell you what these ones are from, curlyproducts.com. I'll link them in my bio. Okay? And I don't even know where this towel is. Laporum. It was a gift from my mom. Thanks, Margie. Okay. So now we've squeezed out a lot of the excess water. Now, a lot of people don't want to do that because they're like, I'm going to lose a whole bunch of product to the towel. Yes, you're going to lose some of the product. If you can find a better way to do that, let me know. I haven't been able to find a better way than that. If you apply product that is already has the water squeezed out of it, you're not going to be able to get juicy clumps that are frizz-free like this. You are much better off on most hair types, like mine, to apply your product to soaking wet hair and to just squeeze out the water and lose maybe 10% of the product. It's never been an issue for me, so I would just try it once and see how it goes. Give it a shot before you hate on it too much. It works for a lot of people. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do now. Get back upright again. We are now going to, this is a little tough to do without a mirror, 1 second. I've never done this before to myself. When I got my hair done by Marilyn, which guys, I'm so sorry, I've really been lagging on posting my curly cut video. It's gonna get posted very soon, but Marilyn put the clips in the other day, but I've never done this to myself. Okay, so the flattest part of my head is right at the back. So I'm gonna start by putting the clips in at the very back. Now, you wanna put them perpendicular to your head because you're trying to create the lift straight up from the root, okay? So you wanna feel them going in, you wanna open them up just a little bit, just like that, just enough to grab the hair, and then you wanna go in so they're lifting the hair up at the root. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna start at the very back of my head and just start clipping. but you want them to be creating lift. Okay? Just open them up just the smallest amount, right? And I'm gonna go in a bit of a zigzag pattern so that I'm not just pushing all of the hair to one side. Oh my God, bear with me guys. Literally my first time doing this. There we go, that's a good one. Creating that little bit of root lift. What do you recommend for a child whose hair is super dry and her curls aren't at the top anymore? So it's very like typical for babies to have baby curls and then for them to lose or loosen the curl pattern by the time they hit 4 to 6 years old. It doesn't mean anything's wrong with their hair, it's just that they had baby curls and then they started getting their normal curl pattern, waves, or straight hair when they were a little bit older. If their hair is very, very dry, I would just use, moisturizing shampoos and conditioners. I would say if your kid is under like 8, you really don't want to have even with an 8-year-old, you don't want to have a routine that is more complicated than the kid wants it to be, unless it's because you have a child with like type 4 hair or very tight, like type 3 hair, where you're simply kind of like required to have a more complicated hair routine to keep the hair healthy. In that case, yes, I understand the child's going to have to a certain extent, learn to be a little bit patient. But especially when we have these beautiful kids with like wavy hair, let's not make it more complicated than it needs to be. You can get away with like just leave-in conditioner or a little bit of like smoothing cream or hair oil on those ends. Don't necessarily make them sit through diffusing because you want their hair to be more curly. You know what I mean? It's just gonna make them kind of resent the process. So I tend to say, and I'm not, by the way, Kayla, I'm not saying that's what you're doing. This is more just like general advice. I would say really lean into what your kid's hair looks like today, especially for my kids with wavy curly hair. Lean into what it looks like today. Understand that especially for children with wavy hair, it is very usual for their hair to become less curly as they go from babies to toddlers to children. If you want to diffuse their hair and the child is okay with that, then absolutely go for it, especially for special occasions. That can be a lot of fun. Or you can let it air dry, like for example with these root clips for a little bit while they're playing, and then finish with diffusing for 5 minutes. That can be a really great way to incorporate it into their routine in like a very low maintenance way that hopefully the kid won't mind. They can watch Miss Rachel while that's happening. So we're just going through and doing a couple of little clips here to just get that lift so that my hair doesn't just fall flat against my scalp. You see what we're doing there? This is gonna really, really help Canary Islands, that's awesome, with anybody who has a tendency for their hair to be really flat at the root. If your kids love having your hair diffused, that is so perfect. You are definitely doing something right. That means you've created such a positive association with it, and I love that so much. But yeah, I think especially when we have these kids who have some sensory issues, things like that, I know it can be tempting as a mama when you see the potential. But I think it's more important that your kid absolutely loves their hair routine. Another tip I have for little kids is you can buy these wonderful dolls that have curly, coily, or kinky hair, and getting your kid to have a doll that has hair similar to theirs can be great because they can style their dolly's hair while their hair is getting styled, which can give them a fantastic sense of control. When I have styled children's hair, my experience has been that, especially when they're trying something new in their styling routine, like if it's their first time having their hair styled with a Denman brush or diffused, something like that, letting them do it to a doll first can really take some of the fear or anxiety out of it, and can give them some sense of control over the situation. And often, instead of asking for consent to have it done to their hair, I'll ask for consent to have it done to Dolly's hair, and then naturally they will want it done to them afterwards. So that can be some really great ways to approach it with children. Just to be very clear, I am not a parent. I do not purport to be a parent or to give parenting advice. These are tips that I have learned from the amazing parents that I am friends with. This is not my own advice, and I'm so grateful for the parents that I know, and I've learned so much from them about how to do their children's hair. They have, you know, nobody can give you better advice of how to do a child's hair than their parents. Okay, so I'm just trying to, it's a lot harder to do the back of my head is what I'm realizing, because I can't see what I'm doing. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that lift without like messing anything up, but I'm trying to just do it based on sight. And I'm trying to just stack a couple so that they kind of like lift each other up. I've got like a whole bunch of clips, so like I might as well. If anybody else has really good tips for styling their kids' hair that they found really helpful, feel free to drop them in the comments, because I know I have a lot of people in this community who have wavy or curly kids, or who follow me for their children. Her spa treatment. Oh my God, how much do I love that you call it that. What a great idea. That makes it feel so grown up, right? You probably don't need to add this many root clips, by the way. We're just having a nice little visit. Have I tried the roller clips for my root clips? I have. I don't find them the most user-friendly. I'll be honest. I think there's just like a learning curve with it, and I'm sure once I got used to it, it would be great. But I find these a little bit more user-friendly. I don't know if you guys would find them more user-friendly, but that's my personal experience. And I don't have a brand sponsorship with these. I don't even know what this brand is. I don't even have a link in my bio for these. But this is my first time using these, and it's going pretty well, I think. So the roller clips, I was struggling. I think it would be easier to use the roller clips on someone else's hair. Now, if you have a hair that has a tendency to like really get weighed down by water and really loosen, then the roller clips are nice, because you can do a clip plop. So you can kind of like clip them up like that and use the roller clips to clip them, and then a hover diffuse like that. I don't like to do that on my hair, so I don't really need them for that. Okay, so now that I have clipped my roots, or at least attempted to, okay, now I'm like looking in the mirror to see if I did a good job. I don't know if I did a good job. I'm gonna go in like these. I'm gonna go in with the front. This is better. I have no idea how this is going to turn out, guys. I think I added too many. I think I did too many clips, which makes sense. I feel like I was adding clips for like 10 years there. Because you don't want them to like lie on their side, you know what I mean? If they lie on their side, then they're not doing their job anymore. So I'm just, before I start diffusing, I need to make sure that they're all upright. Okay. We're gonna try that. I have no idea. This clip is called, I think it's just called a large root lifting curl clip, and the company that they're from is curlyproducts.com. Remember, these are the 2-inch clips, not a 1.8-inch clip. All of the clips you're gonna find are 1.8 inches, and that's not what you want. Okay, so I'm gonna start by drying my roots. I'm gonna link those in my bio. If you check back tomorrow, they're gonna be linked in my bio. So now I'm gonna dry my roots first while I have these clips in. I might even in theory, if you clipped your hair really well, which I don't know if I did clip my hair really well, this was my first time using those clips, so there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve. But if I had clipped my hair really well, you could avoid flipping your hair upside down like this at the point. So it's really great for people with accessibility issues who are looking for that extra little bit of lift. So your curls always get ruined overnight. If that's the case for you, one of my first questions is, what are you doing to protect your curls or your waves overnight? Are you sleeping on a silk pillowcase? Are you sleeping with sleep protection, like a bonnet or a silk scarf? Also, are you using gel in your hair, or are you only using curl cream? Curl cream, as a rule, if your hair is a looser curl pattern or your hair is wavy, curl cream is not going to give you a lot of longevity and isn't going to protect you as much from frizz. So using a gel in your routine can really, really help with that. Aw, Dad will rub her feet while I diffuse. That's so cute. Okay, so we started diffusing those roots. Now I'm just gonna hover diffuse the rest of my hair. You're only using curl cream. First thing I would change, introduce a gel into your routine. I think that's like the single thing that I see people do the most when they first start taking care of their wavy or curly hair, is they just immediately start just using a curl cream. I think most people are better off, if they're only gonna use one product, to just use a gel. Now, I don't recommend only using a gel, but typically a curl cream is not going to provide enough longevity, especially for my wavies. If your hair is like my curl pattern or looser, that means your hair struggles to hold curl. Most curl cream does not have very much holding power. Now, when you start introducing gel into your routine, something's gonna happen that you might not like right away, and that is your hair is gonna be crunchy once it starts to dry, especially diffusing your hair. Now, don't be too alarmed. We're gonna deal with that. It's called your cast. Once your hair dries and it starts to have that like shiny look to it, when you're pulling the clips out, make sure you're not pulling them out this way. Pull them out from whence they came, okay? So I don't wanna leave them in all the way. I'm nervous. I just wanted to leave them in until I started to get that lift at the root, until my roots were dry. You see what I mean? And then I want to get rid of them so that I don't get like lines where they were in my hair. So yeah, once your hair is 100% dry, what you're gonna do is your hair will be 100% dry, but it'll be a little shiny and crunchy. Just start scrunching your hair until that crunchiness goes away, and then it'll be gone, and you'll still have the longevity that comes with gel. Now, certain curl patterns can actually choose to leave a little bit of that crunchiness in their hair, and by doing that, their hair will last a little bit better. Other curl patterns will prefer to get rid of all of that crunchiness on day one, and they just prefer the look of it, and their style won't last quite as long, but they'll still get the better last, the longer lasting style, because they still have the gel in their hair. You know what I mean? But the longer you can leave the cast, the longer the style will last in their hair. My favorite gel is the Irish Sea Moss Gel by Lust Brands. And you can get 10% off with my code. The link is in my bio. The code is GHWH10. Okay? So, when you're diffusing, guys, do you notice how I haven't scrunched my hair at all with the diffuser? I like to hover diffuse my hair until the cast starts to set in on my hair. Now, everybody's hair is a little bit different. So there's two main techniques that I use when I'm diffusing. The first one is hover diffusing, what I'm doing here, and the other one is going to be pixie diffusing, where you cup the hair into the diffuser. When you're doing pixie diffusing, you're cupping the hair into the diffuser, don't do this, okay? If you keep moving it every 2 to 3 seconds, chances are you're gonna create a lot of frizz and stringiness in your hair. Now, if you do that right now and you like the results you're getting, of course, keep doing it. I'm not telling anyone to change their routine if you like your current results. I'm very happy for you. But if you have too much frizz, or you're someone who says, oh, I can't diffuse my hair, it makes my hair stringy and frizzy, but you're currently just going straight in on wet hair with your diffuser like this, that's probably why. Try hover diffusing first, and then once your hair is starting to be a little bit dry, you see how I've got a combination, like my hair is maybe 50% dry now? Now I'm gonna go in with the blow dryer turned off, turn it on once it's in position, and hold positions for like 20 to 30 seconds. It seems that your curls absorb the gel. I cannot get them to do the cast. Why so? Such a great question. There can be a lot of reasons why your hair does not cast. First of all, jellies, okay? Jellies is not the same as a gel. For some reason, jellies get marketed to people with wavy hair or hair like mine. They are not for us, okay? Jellies have a very soft hold. They are very moisturizing. And they are really meant for coily hair types. I don't know why they're getting marketed to our hair type. Again, if you use them and you like them, great, keep using them. But they're not meant for us. They don't really create a cast. So we want a gel, not a jelly. That would be the first. Second thing is if you're using a gel and you're not getting a cast, it could be because we tell you to apply gel to totally saturated hair. If your hair is so dripping wet, sometimes that can cause the gel to get watered down and it just doesn't create a cast because it's getting really watered down. That can sometimes be the case. Often you don't get a cast because the product you're putting under the gel is too heavy for your hair, okay? This is one of the most common reasons that I see. If you're using a curl cream under your gel and you're not getting a cast,